Hello friends, in this video I will be talking about the inheritance. So what is inheritance? Suppose if you want to inherit some methods from the parent class to the child class, then we use the inheritance. Okay, so in Ruby, what is inheritance? Ruby classes can inherit only from one class, but it can have as many modules as they want. Means we can only inherit from only one class. Let me show you. Class, parent, and class child. That's the syntax of inherit. And so this is the parent class and this is the child class. We can only inherit from parent. This is the syntax of inheriting. Okay, so we can inherit multiple modules but only from one class. Means we can only do this thing only with the one class. Okay, and all classes inherit from the object by default, which in turns inherit from the basic object. And if you ask here the child, what is your parent class, what is your superclass? Okay, so it will tell you this is a parent. And if you ask what is your parent class, it will tell you object, because all classes inherit from object, right? And object itself inherit from the basic object. So that's the structure of this, how it is inheriting. Let me illustrate with an example here. That it's a child, it is inherit from parent, parent is in turns inherit from object, and object is also inherited from basic object, and basic object is all the from all at the top. Okay, so if you ask for example integer for superclass, so it will tell you the numeric, and numeric also inherit from superclass. If you ask the numeric, it is also inherited from object, right? So all the classes are inheriting from this object. So that's the purpose of this. If you can also ask from the string, you can also ask for the string as well, array as well, all inherit from this object. See, now if you want to ask the ancestor, means this child class, what is your ancestor, means the top. So you can ask, means child, it has all these as ancestor. So let me run this. Child, it has ancestor child, then parent, फिर object, and this pp object module, kernel, and basic object. These are all the top for this child class. Okay, so object also inherit has included this module. Means if you ask the object what is your ancestor, you can ask with the object as the ancestor. It will tell you this kernel and basic object. That's the top of this object. It is illustrated as class object include kernel module. And what is inside the kernel, you wanted to know? Just let me run this kernel.methods. It will tell you puts, prints, from where this method is coming from. This kernel module has already defined this: printf, print, puts, require, load. We also require the date library. These all the methods are defined inside the kernel module. Equal method, nil, frozen, every method that is already defined in kernel module. So that is already inherited into object, and our child classes are inherited from this object. That's why we are able to access puts, print anywhere. Okay, so now I will talk about the accessing methods. Suppose we have defined some methods from the parent class, we can access it into the child class. Here, let me show you. Here I've created an object of the child. Okay, now I'm calling this method, so it will safely execute this some method. It is defined into the parent, but if we are able to call on the child object, I am from the parent class. So that's the purpose of inheritance. We can call the parent methods on the child objects. Yeah, these things are related to the inheritance, but inheritance also works for the Eisen class as well. So let me talk about the Eisen class hierarchy. So let me illustrate this first. Here, suppose this is the this is our this is our hierarchy, the child, parent, object, basic object, right? But in the similar way, child has its own Eisen class, parent has its own Eisen class, object has its own Eisen class, basic object has its own Eisen class. So all Eisen classes are inherited from the parents. So child is inherited from the parent's Eisen, and parent is inherited from the object's Eisen class. Let me show you. For example, I have defined this. Let me clean this up. Open it again. I have defined parent class and child class. I have inherited this, right? Right. Now I am assigning one. I am creating one variable here and assigning a scope here, and this is the way how I have defined this Eisen class. Okay. Let me run this. Okay. Now I have Eisen class. So Eisen class is class of child. Okay, so that's an Eisen class that is inherited from parent. Let me show you what is your parent. So per class it will show you class parent. Okay, it has inherited from the Eisen of parent, right? And if you ask this from where it is you are inheriting, super class, it will tell you I am inheriting from the Eisen class of object. Okay, and which in turn inheriting from basic object. Okay, so this is the structure of Eisen class hierarchy. Okay, so suppose if you want to access the methods of Eisen classes, with the same way you can access. For example, I have defined one class. Inside this Eisen class, I have defined one method. Okay, now I have defined in the child class. Okay, child Eisen class, I have defined one method as well. Okay, now if I wanted to access this method with the child, I can easily access it. Let me run this code. Okay, on the child, if I am trying to access this method, it is defined in the child class. We can access it. Child method, I am from the parent Eisen class. Let me child Eisen class. Let me rerun this again so that it does not make any confusion. Okay, it is from the child, it is from the parent. Now, so now I am accessing it. It is in the child class, child method, so it is printing I am from the child Eisen class. Okay, even I can call the parent methods. Yeah, parent method. So I am from the parent Eisen class. See, we can access these methods on the child because this is inheriting from this Eisen class, this Eisen class, this is inheriting from this. So that's how you can inherit inheritance work for the Eisen class as well. Now let me talk about the include. Okay, so what does include do? You can define the methods, okay, inside any module, and with this include keyword you can include all of these methods. Okay, so for example, you have defined one module, two module, and you can include these module inside this class or inside this module as well. If you want to include this parent module, you can also do that, but here I did inside the class only. Okay, now if I want to check how this has been included, I can ask the ancestor. So how it has inheriting, this will be child, parent, and then my class. The first will be my class. Let me show you here. First ancestor will be, suppose if I am looking for some method here, right? So first it will look into my class, then it will look into the parent, sorry, it will look into the child class, then it will look into the parent class, then it will look into the object class. Okay, so let me run this. My class dot ancestors, it will tell you how a method lookup works. It will, suppose if I call one method, it will first look into this class, then it will look into this class, this object, and then it will look into the basic object. Let me give you an example. Suppose I have defined one method here, some method name. Okay, with the same name I have defined into the child, with the same name I have defined here in the class as well. Okay, so this is the how I have defined one method. Let me rerun this. Now if I create an object and trying to access this method name, first where it will look, it will look into the class. I am from the class, it will print I am from the class. See, first it will look into the class. If this method did not find in the class, let me comment this. Okay, now let me rerun this. Suppose if this method did not find inside the class, it will look into this child. Okay, it will not look into the parent first, it will look into the child, because from the bottom to top it will work. Okay, now let me rerun this. It will print I am from child. I am from child, because it has looked into this child module first. Okay, suppose if I have commented this as one, now it will look into the parent. Let me rerun this. Okay, I am from the parent. First it will look into here, here, and then here. Okay, suppose if this method did not find in the parent as well, what it will do, it will look into the object and then basic object. And if this method did not find in any one of the class, then it will raise one error. What is? Let me show you. Method missing error, no method error. Okay, it will give you the no method error, and it calls one method. The name of the method will be method missing. Let me show you here. If this method did not find in any of there, it will call this method missing. Suppose I have defined this method here. Okay, and I am trying to call one method, some method, and that method did not define in any of the class module. Okay, I have never defined it, but I have defined this method missing. If this method is not found anywhere, it will call this method. Okay, let me show you. I have defined this. Now I am trying to call this method. I am being called. See, it is now, this time it is not raising any error, because this time it has called this method and this is printing this. Now I am being called. So that's the how method lookup works. It is trying to find from the bottom to top, and if method does not found, it calls method missing method. Now the next topic is extend. I will cover it later on, but now let me first talk about the prepend. So what is prepend? So prepend, the definition of prepend is the module is added after the class of ancestor chain, or it insert the module at the bottom of ancestor chain. What is the meaning of this? It is just an opposite of include. Like for example, if I have defined one module here, child, and if I am prepending this inside this class, so what it will do, let me show you. So now the bottom class will be child, and then parent will be my class. Okay, what it is doing, it insert the module at the bottom of ancestor chain. Now let me call this ancestor. It will tell you my class dot ancestor. It will tell you the child is at the bottom, and now my class object and everything else. So it has inserted child as the bottom and my class is at the top. Now how it will work? Suppose if I am trying to call one method, this child method, and it is defined into the child module and inside the class. Now how it will work? I have prepended here this child module. Okay, now first it will not look into my class. Suppose if I am trying to run this method, it will not look into my class, it will look into the module first, and if it does not found here, then it will look into my class. Let me show you. Okay, I am running this same ancestor. First it will look into the child and then my class. Let me show you. I am from the child class. I am from the child class. See, it has executed this. And if this method did not found into the module, then it will look into my class. Let me show you this one as well. See, I am from my class. My class. It is printing this. So that's the prepend. Now let me talk about the extend. So what is extend? When you extend a class with a module, means when you extend a class, okay, inside a class, if you extend any module, you are extending this module, all the methods will be inserted into the class of inheritance tree. Means all these methods are inserted into this class of my class. Okay, so let me show you with an example. Here I have defined one module and I have defined one method, but I am extending it into my class here. Now this method is inserted into the class of my class. Okay, so I can call this method without creating an object. Okay, so let me show you. I am not creating here object, I am just directly calling this. It's the class method. See, I am able to call this. I am from the module. Suppose if I am creating an object and trying to call, it will not work. Object dot sub method, it will not call because undefined method is not defined, because it is in this method is inserted into the Eisen class, and this is out of the scope and we are not able to access this. And now Eisen class inheritance tree reflects the class inheritance tree. What is the meaning of this? This Eisen class inheritance tree is the similar of the our own inheritance tree, because the child Eisen class of child is inheriting from the parent Eisen class, and parent Eisen class is inheriting from the object Eisen class. Let me show you with an example here as well. So I am defining one parent and there is one method, and there is child, there is also one merit, there is also one method here with the same name. Okay, and I am extending this and this module inside this class. Okay, extending parent, extending child. Okay, and here I have defined one class method. I have defined one method inside the Eisen of this class, and now let me run this whole. Okay, now if I am trying to call this method, first it will look into my class, and if this method is not found here, it will look into this child. Okay, here, and if this method did not find here, it will look into this parent here, because we have defined in this order parent and child, so that's why it is looking this. Now let me run this. I am from the class. I am from the class. It is printing this. Suppose if this method is not I did not define this. Let me rerun this. Now I am trying to call this again. I am from the child. See, I am from the child. Okay, suppose if I did not define here, let me run the whole code again. I am the from the parent. If this method did not find here, it will run this method. Suppose if did not find here, it will call the method missing. I am the from the parent. Okay, let me rerun this. See, undefined method, some method for my class, because it did not find in any of the parent. So that's it for this video. Thank you.